Unexpected inheritance. Jack Harper stifled a yawn as he shuffled through the mountain of paperwork on his desk. As Earth's junior diplomat to the Galactic Council, he'd expected a bit more excitement than endless forms and reports. The soft blue glow of his holoscreen cast shadows across his small, cluttered office in the United Earth Embassy on Alpha Centauri. A gentle chime interrupted his monotonous task. Incoming transmission from an unknown source, the AI assistant announced. Security protocols unable to verify origin. Jack's eyebrows shot up. In the carefully regulated world of interstellar diplomacy, unverified transmissions were practically unheard of. Display message, he commanded, curiosity piqued. The holoscreen flickered, and a face materialized, distinctly alien, with iridescent scales and multifaceted eyes that seemed to shift colors as they moved. Jack recognized a species as Xenoran, a reclusive race known for their advanced technology and complex social structures. "Greetings, Jack Harper of Earth," the alien spoke, its voice a melodious trill. "I am Zarak, keeper of legacies for the noble house of Chthon. I bear news of great importance." Jack leaned forward, all traces of fatigue vanishing. "I'm listening," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "You have been named as the sole heir to the estate of Galvor Chthon, Grand Architect of Sonora," Zarak continued. "This includes all properties, technologies, and obligations associated with his position." Jack's mind reeled. He'd never even heard of Galvor Chthon, let alone met him. "There must be some mistake," he stammered. "I'm just a junior diplomat. I've never even been to Xenora." Zarek's expression remained impassive. "There is no mistake, Jack Harper. Galvor Chthon selected you personally, though his reasons were known only to him. You are required to come to Xenora immediately to claim your inheritance and fulfill your new duties." Before Jack could formulate a response, the transmission cut off abruptly. He sat back in his chair, head spinning. An alien inheritance, new duties. It had to be a prank, some hazing ritual for new diplomats. He reached for his comm unit to report the incident to his superiors. The device chirped before he could activate it. "Incoming message from Ambassador Chen," the AI announced. The stern face of Earth's senior diplomat appeared on the screen. "Harper, my office, now," she barked, ending the call without waiting for acknowledgement. Jack's stomach churned as he made his way through the embassy's winding corridors. Had they already discovered the strange transmission? As he entered Ambassador Chen's opulent office, he was surprised to find it crowded with high-ranking officials from various alien races. Ambassador Chen fixed him with a penetrating stare. "Mr. Harper, it seems you've caused quite the interstellar incident." "Ma'am, I can explain," Jack began, but Chen cut him off with a wave of her hand. "The Xenoran High Council has formally requested your immediate presence on their homeworld," she continued. "Apparently, you've inherited a position of great importance." A tall, willowy alien with translucent skin stepped forward. "I am Vexara, representative of the Galactic Council," it introduced itself. "The situation is unprecedented. Sonora has been a closed system for millennia. Your inheritance not only grants you access to their world, but a position of significant power within their society." Jack's head swam. This was real, actually happening. "But why me?" he managed to ask. Vexara's features rippled in what might have been the alien equivalent of a shrug. "The ways of Sonora are mysterious to us all. However, this presents a unique opportunity for improved relations between Earth and one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations." Ambassador Chen nodded. "Which is why you'll be going, Harper. Consider this your new assignment, unofficial ambassador to Xenora." Jack's mouth went dry. "When do I leave?" "Immediately," Chen replied. "A Xenoran ship is waiting in orbit. Pack light, and for stars' sake, try not to cause an interplanetary incident." The next few hours passed in a blur. Jack was whisked through a crash course in Xenoran etiquette, fitted for environmental suits designed to withstand the planet's unique atmosphere, and given a dizzying array of diplomatic authorizations. As he stood in the embassy's teleportation chamber, luggage in hand, the reality of the situation finally began to sink in. He was leaving everything he knew behind, venturing to an alien world to claim an inheritance he didn't understand and assume a role he was in no way prepared for. The teleportation beam hummed to life, enveloping Jack in a cocoon of shimmering energy. As his atoms began to disassemble, a thought flashed through his mind. What have I gotten myself into? In a blinding flash, Jack Harper vanished from Earth's space, hurtling across the stars toward a destiny beyond his wildest imagination. The humble junior diplomat was gone, and in his place, the newest power player in galactic politics was about to emerge. The Xenaran ship that materialized around Jack was unlike anything he had ever seen. Organic curves melded seamlessly with crystalline structures, creating an interior that seemed to pulse with life. A small delegation of Xenarans awaited him, their scaled bodies shimmering under the ship's bioluminescent lighting. "Welcome, Heir of Cathon," the lead Xenaran greeted, bowing deeply. "I am Lyria, your guide and protector during this journey. We have much to discuss before we reach Xenora." As the ship hummed to life, accelerating to unimaginable speeds, Jack realized that his life would never be the same. The stars streaked by outside the viewport, each one carrying him further from the familiar and deeper into a universe of mystery, danger, and untold possibility. Galactic green thumb. Lila's eyes fluttered open, adjusting to the kaleidoscope of colors swirling around her. She was no longer on the petal of the cosmic flower, but suspended in a chamber that seemed to be made of pure light. Tendrils of bioluminescent energy pulsed gently, creating patterns that felt almost like a language she was on the verge of understanding. "Welcome, Cosmic Gardener," a chorus of voices resonated through her mind. "You have arrived at the nexus of nurture." Before her, the light coalesced into a panel of beings unlike anything Layla had ever imagined. One appeared to be a sentient cloud of spores, another a crystalline entity that refracted light in impossible ways. There was a creature composed entirely of overlapping leaves, and another that seemed to be a living constellation. "We are the Intergalactic Botanical Society," the spore cloud pulsed. "For eons we have tended to the cosmic ecosystem, but now we face a crisis beyond our abilities." The crystalline being chimed in, its voice like tinkling glass. "Entire galaxies are withering, Gardener. Life-bearing worlds are becoming sterile at an alarming rate. Our methods are failing." "Which is why we sought you out," the leaf creature rustled. "Humans possess a quality we lack, adaptability born of limitation. Your species thrives despite your constraints, or perhaps because of them." The living constellation twinkled, forming words in the void. "We need your unique perspective, Leila Martinez. Will you help us diagnose and treat this cosmic malady?" Leila's mind reeled. Just days ago, her biggest concern had been optimizing tomato yields in microgravity. Now, she was being asked to save life on a universal scale. But as she looked at her hands, still smudged with the soil of Earth, she felt a surge of determination. "I'll do my best," she said firmly. "But I'll need to understand what we're dealing with. Can you show me these withering worlds?" The chamber around them shifted, and suddenly Lila found herself floating above an alien planet. Its surface was a sickly gray, great cracks spider webbing across barren continents. As she watched, mountains crumbled to dust and oceans evaporated into nothingness. "This is Azura," the spore cloud explained. "Once a lush paradise, now reduced to this in a matter of your Earth months." They zoomed out and Leela gasped. The entire galaxy was dotted with similar worlds, life guttering out like candles in a storm. Her botanist's mind began to race, considering possibilities. "It's almost like a drought," she mused. "But on a galactic scale, what if the universe itself needs watering?" The Botanical Society beings exchanged glances, their alien features unreadable to Leela. "An intriguing hypothesis," the crystalline entity chimed. "But how does one water a universe?" Leela's eyes lit up with an idea so audacious it made her dizzy. On Earth, we sometimes use cloud seeding to induce rain. What if we could do something similar, but with nebulae? Create cosmic rain clouds to nourish dying worlds. The leaf creature rustled excitedly. Remarkable. But the scale required, it would take enormous power. Power we have, the constellation twinkled. What we lacked was imagination. Layla, you may have just provided the seed for solution. Over the next, well, Layla wasn't sure if time passed the same way here, but it felt like weeks. She worked tirelessly with the Botanical Society, combining her earthly knowledge with their cosmic resources. They engineered spores that could survive in the vacuum of space, designed stellar nurseries to birth nutrient-rich nebulae, and created a network of wormholes to distribute their cosmic precipitation. Finally, the day of reckoning arrived. Lila stood, or rather floated, at the helm of a ship unlike any other. It was a massive terraforming engine, part spaceship, part cosmic watering can. At her command, it could seed entire nebulae with life-giving elements. "Are you ready, Cosmic Gardener?" the Botanical Society asked in unison. Lila took a deep breath, feeling the weight of galaxies on her shoulders. With a nod, she grasped the controls, which responded more to her thoughts and her actions. "Let's make it rain," she said. The ship surged forward, leaving a trail of shimmering stardust in its wake. As they approached a first withering galaxy, Leela felt a connection to every dying world, every fading spark of life. She reached out with her newfound cosmic senses and began to play the universe like an instrument. Nebulae swirled at her command, condensing into impossibly enormous clouds. Stars pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, infusing the cosmic rain with energy. And then, with a gesture that felt both infinitesimal and infinite, Leela released the deluge. Multicolored rain fell across the galaxy, each drop a concentrated burst of life and potential. Barren worlds drank deep, parched stellar nurseries filled to bursting, and the very fabric of space seemed to sigh in relief. As the first planets began to show signs of renewal, sprouting continents of impossible flora, Leela allowed herself a small smile. This was only the beginning, she knew. There were more galaxies to revive, more cosmic gardens to tend. But for now, watching a universe bloom under her care, Leila Martinez, once a simple botanist from Earth, now the cosmic gardener, felt the truest sense of purpose she had ever known. The stars themselves seemed to twinkle their approval, and in that moment, Leila knew that her greatest adventures were still to come. The withering. Lila floated in the cosmic nursery she had created, surrounded by infant stars and newborn planets swaddled in nebulae of her own design. The universe hummed with renewed vitality, a symphony of life that she could feel in every cell of her being. But something was off. A discordant note in the cosmic melody that set her teeth on edge. "Do you feel it too, Cosmic Gardener?" The voice of the Intergalactic Botanical Society resonated in her mind, a chorus of concern. Leila nodded, her brow furrowed. "It's like a wilt spreading through the cosmic garden. But how? We've restored so much." Suddenly, the nursery around them flickered, like a hologram losing power. Leila gasped as the vibrant colors blurred away, leaving behind a monochrome void. The stars dimmed, planets crumbled, and the very fabric of space seemed to fray at the edges. "What's happening?" Leila cried out, reaching for the withering life forms around her. But her hands passed through them as if they were mirages. The Botanical Society's voices became distorted, breaking up like a bad radio signal. "It's entropy, accelerated, reality, collapsing." And then silence. Leila found herself alone in an empty, colorless expanse. No stars, no planets, no allies, just endless, oppressive nothingness. But Leila Martinez hadn't become the cosmic gardener by giving up easily. She closed her eyes, reaching out with senses far beyond the human norm. There, a flicker of something, a pulse of reality in the unreality around her. With a thought, she propelled herself towards it. As she drew closer, she began to make out a shape in the void. It was a door, an impossibly ornate door standing alone in nothingness, its surface alive with shifting fractals and impossible geometries. Leela hesitated for just a moment before grasping the handle. It felt warm, almost organic, beneath her touch. Taking a deep breath, she turned it and stepped through. She found herself in a vast library. Books and scrolls stretched as far as the eye could see, their spines glowing with soft bioluminescence. But these weren't ordinary books. Each one seemed to contain an entire universe, worlds upon worlds nested like Russian dolls. "Welcome, Cosmic Gardener," a voice echoed through the library. It wasn't the Botanical Society this time, but something far older, far stranger. Or shall I say, welcome back. From between the shelves emerged a figure that defied description. It seemed to be composed of living text, its body a constantly shifting narrative that wrote and rewrote itself with every movement. "Who? What are you?" Lila asked, her voice barely a whisper. The figure's face rearranged itself into something approximating a smile. "I am the librarian, keeper of all possible realities. And you, Leela Martinez, are far more than you realize." With a gesture, the librarian conjured a mirror. But Leela's reflection wasn't what she expected. Instead of her human form, she saw a being of pure light and potential, tendrils of energy extending outwards to touch countless realities. "You are not just a gardener," the librarian explained. "You are the narrative itself, a living story, seeding realities across the multiverse. But lately, you've become stuck, trapped in a loop of creation and destruction." Memories flooded Lila's mind, not just of her life on Earth or her cosmic adventures, but of countless cycles of universal bloom and decay. She had lived this story a million times, each iteration slightly different, but always ending in withering and renewal. "The withering you've been fighting," the librarian continued, "is the result of your story becoming stagnant. The multiverse craves novelty, Leela. It's time for you to write a new chapter." Lila looked down at her hands, no longer flesh and blood, but pure possibility given form. "How?" she asked, her voice resonating with newfound power. The librarian gestured to the endless shelves around them. "Choose a book, any book. Dive into a new narrative. Rewrite yourself and the cosmos along with you. Break the cycle, Cosmic Gardener. Become the author." Lila's mind reeled with the implications. She wasn't just nurturing life, she was creating entire realities. With trembling hands that sparkled with unwritten tales, she reached for a tome that pulsed with particular vibrancy. As her fingers brushed its spine, the library around her began to dissolve. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her to open the cover and pen the first line of a brand new existence. Leela hesitated, the weight of infinite possibilities heavy on her shoulders. Then, with a smile that could birth galaxies, she opened the book. "In the beginning," she wrote, her words reshaping the very fabric of the multiverse, "there was a gardener who became a story." The library exploded into a kaleidoscope of potential, each shard a window into a fresh reality. Lila felt herself fragmenting, becoming part of every new world she was creating. She was the cosmic soil from which unprecedented life would spring, the ink of an endless epic, the code of a universal simulation. As she spread across realities, seeding them with her essence, Layla realized that the withering had never been an enemy to be vanquished. It was simply the pause between breaths, the blank page awaiting the next word. And she, Leela Martinez, once a humble botanist from Earth, now the author of existence, would ensure that the story never grew stale again. In gardens of galaxies and libraries of lives, a new multiverse bloomed, vibrant, ever-changing, and endlessly surprising. And at its heart, a gardener tended to her infinite crop of realities, nurturing them with imagination made manifest. The withering was no more. The blossoming of infinite tales had begun. Cosmic pollination. Leela, now an omnipresent consciousness spread across infinite realities, found herself facing an unexpected challenge. The multiverse she had seeded with endless variations was thriving, but it was also segregated. Each reality existed in isolation, unable to cross-pollinate ideas and experiences. As the author of Existence, Layla realized that true creativity required interconnection. She needed to find a way to allow these disparate universes to interact, to exchange the pollen of concepts and the nectar of innovation. With a thought that rippled across dimensions, Layla summoned her essence back into a singular form. She materialized in a realm beyond realms, a space between spaces where the laws of physics were more like polite suggestions. Here, suspended in a soup of quantum foam, floated the cosmic lotus, a colossal flower with infinite petals, each one a portal to a different reality. At its center pulsed the narrative core, the beating heart of all stories. Lila approached the lotus, her form shifting with each step. One moment she was a being of pure light, the next a swarm of sentient equations, then a walking library with limbs of living text. Time for some cross-pollination, she mused, her voice a harmony of every sound in existence. With gardener's hands that could cradle galaxies, Layla began to pluck idea spores from the lotus petals. Each one contained the distilled essence of its reality, the fundamental concepts and axioms that defined its existence. She collected spores of worlds where time flowed backwards, where thoughts had mass, where emotions were traded as currency. Universes where life evolved from crystal, where physics was based on music theory, where consciousness itself was the basic building block of matter. But simply mixing these idea spores wouldn't be enough. Lila needed a way to blend them at the most fundamental level, to create hybrid realities that were more than the sum of their parts. Inspiration struck like a big bang. Lila began to sing. It wasn't a song in any conventional sense. It was a meta-melody, a tune that existed simultaneously in every possible frequency. As she sang, the idea spores began to dance, merging and splitting in impossible ways. The cosmic lotus trembled, its infinite petals rustling with anticipation. The narrative core pulsed in rhythm with Leela's song, pumping new stories through the veins of the multiverse. Reality itself began to bend and warp. Universes that were once separate began to overlap, creating liminal spaces where the impossible became mundane. In one such space, a philosopher made of sentient light debated ethics with a quantum computer that experienced time as a spatial dimension. Lila's song reached a crescendo, and the barriers between worlds grew thin. Ideas flowed freely across the boundaries of creation, leading to explosions of novelty that rippled across existence. In one universe, the discovery of emotion-powered technology led to cities built from crystallized joy and vehicles fueled by distilled awe. In another, the realization that dreams were windows into alternate realities resulted in a society of slumbering interdimensional explorers. Yet another world stumbled upon the fact that their universe was a single cell in the body of an unimaginably vast cosmic organism, leading to existential crises and spiritual awakenings on a universal scale. As Leela watched these new hybrid realities blossom and evolve, she felt a surge of pride and excitement. But she also sensed a new presence in the space between spaces, drawn by her reality-altering song. A figure coalesced before her, as vast and incomprehensible as Leela herself. It appeared as a cosmic janitor, pushing an impossibly long mop made of tangled timelines. "Impressive work," the entity said, its voice the sound of rust on the gears of creation. "But do you realize the mess you're making?" Leela regarded the newcomer with curiosity. "Who are you?" "I'm the entropy custodian," it replied, leaning on its paradox mop. "I keep the multiverse tidy, sweeping away obsolete timelines and mopping up quantum spills. And you, little flower, are making quite a mess." Lila felt a flicker of concern. "I'm not destroying anything," she protested. "I'm creating, innovating." The custodian sighed, a sound like the heat death of 1,000 universes. Creation and destruction, innovation and obsolescence, they're two sides of the same coin. For every new reality you birth, countless others wither away, forgotten. It gestured with its mop, and Leela saw the withered husks of abandoned storylines, deprecated realities crumbling into cosmic dust. Balance, the custodian intoned. That's what's needed. Not endless growth, not stagnation, but a cycle of renewal that doesn't overwhelm the system. Leela pondered this, her mind expanding to encompass the full scope of her actions. She had been so focused on creation that she had neglected the necessary role of decay in the cosmic ecosystem. Perhaps, Leela said slowly, an idea germinating in her mind, we could work together. A collaboration between the forces of creation and entropy. The custodian tilted its head, an action that caused several nearby dimensions to tilt with it. Oh, and what did you have in mind, cosmic gardener? Leela's form solidified into something resembling her original human shape, but with eyes that held galaxies and hair that flowed like the river of time. What if, she proposed, her excitement growing, we created a system where obsolete realities aren't just discarded, but composted, their essence broken down and used to fertilize new creations. The custodian's form flickered, reconfiguring itself into something that almost resembled a smile. A cosmic compost heap. Now that's an idea I can get behind. And so in the space between spaces, the cosmic gardener and the entropy custodian began to dance. It was a duet of creation and decay, of endless innovation and necessary endings. Together, they wove a new meta-narrative, one that honored both the bloom of new ideas and the fertile soil of concluded tales. The multiverse shuddered and sighed, settling into a new equilibrium. And at the heart of it all, tending to the endless fields of blooming stories and rich narrative compost, Leela Martinez, no longer just a gardener or an author, but a cosmic caretaker, smiled. The great cycle of tales had begun, and the multiverse would never be the same again. The bloom of truth. In the ever-shifting realm between realities, Leela and the entropy custodian had established a delicate balance. Their cosmic compost system was thriving, recycling deprecated narratives into fertile soil for new stories. But as Leela tended to this meta-garden, she began to notice something strange. Tiny motes of light, smaller than quarks and more ephemeral than neutrinos, were coalescing in the spaces between stories. These specks of luminescence seemed to flicker in and out of existence, dancing on the edge of reality itself. Curious, Leela murmured, her voice causing ripples in the fabric of space-time. She reached out to touch one of the motes, and as her finger made contact, the universe hiccuped. In that infinitesimal moment of contact, Leela experienced every story simultaneously. She was the hero and the villain, the beginning and the end, the word and the silence between words. And in that moment of ultimate paradox, she understood. These motes were not just light. They were truth, the fundamental, underlying truth that connected all stories, all realities, all possibilities. As the hiccup subsided and the multiverse settled back into its normal rhythm, or as normal as an infinite expanse of realities can be, Leela found herself changed. Her form was now a constantly shifting amalgamation of all possible shapes, both existential and conceptual. What happened? The entropy custodian asked, its mop of timelines quivering anxiously. "I've seen it," Leela breathed, her voice a chorus of every sound that ever was or could be. "The bloom of truth. It's been here all along, growing in the fertile soil of our cosmic compost." The custodian's form flickered uncertainly. Truth. But every reality has its own truth. That's the point of multiple universes, isn't it? Leela shook her head, the motion causing nearby realities to reshuffle like a deck of cards. No, this is different. This is the truth that underlies all truths. The meta-narrative that connects every story ever told or yet to be imagined. As she spoke, the motes of truth began to gravitate towards her, swirling around her in a double helix of pure concept. With each passing moment, more appeared, drawn from every corner of the multiverse. "Be careful," the custodian warned. "Too much truth could destabilize everything we've built." But Leela was beyond caution now. She opened herself fully to the bloom of truth, allowing it to flow through her, to use her as a conduit for its ultimate expression. And then, it happened. The truth spoke. It wasn't a voice or even a thought. It was a fundamental restructuring of reality itself. Every story in every universe suddenly became aware of itself, of its place in the greater narrative. Characters realized they were characters, plots recognized themselves as plots, and the very concepts of fiction and reality blurred beyond recognition. In a universe where time flowed backwards, the heat-death of existence became a glorious genesis. In another, where emotions were the building blocks of matter, a heartbreak literally shattered a planet into love-struck asteroids. Somewhere else, a story realized it was being read at that very moment and began to read its reader in turn. The multiverse was becoming self-aware. Layla watched in awe as the boundaries between creator and creation, between story and storyteller, dissolved. She saw infinite versions of herself, the humble earth botanist, the cosmic gardener, the author of existence, all equally real and equally fictional. "What have you done?" the entropy custodian cried, its form stretching and compressing as it tried to adapt to this new meta-reality. "I've freed us," Layla replied, her voice resonating with the hum of universal self-awareness. "We're no longer bound by the limits of our roles. We can be anything, everything, nothing, all at once." As if to demonstrate, Layla allowed her consciousness to expand, becoming one with the bloom of truth. She was simultaneously every character in every story, every author pondering their next word, every reader lost in a book, every critic analyzing a text. But with this ultimate awareness came a sobering realization. If every possibility was equally real, equally valid, then individual choices lost their meaning. The multiverse threatened to collapse into a homogeneous soup of pure potential, with no differentiation, no drama, no growth. Layla felt the panic of countless realities as they grappled with this existential crisis. She had to act fast. With a thought that resonated across all of existence, Layla reached out to every sentient being in every universe. Her message was simple: choose. She granted every entity, whether a protagonist in an epic saga or a speck of dust in a forgotten tale, the ability to choose its own path, to write its own story within the greater narrative. The multiverse trembled, then exploded with creativity. Trillions upon trillions of choices spun new threads of narrative, weaving a tapestry of infinite complexity and beauty. Characters rebelled against their authors, while others embraced their fictional nature to become more than they ever dreamed. Entire universes chose to forget the truth, preserving the mystery and wonder of their existence. Others chose to remember, using their newfound awareness to craft realities of unimaginable depth and meaning. As for Layla, she chose to remain as she was, a bridge between all stories, a gardener of infinite tales. But now she was joined by countless others who had awakened to their true nature as both creator and creation. The entropy custodian, after a moment of existential panic, chose to transform itself into a cosmic editor, helping to refine and polish the endless stories blooming across the multiverse. Together, Layla and her fellow meta-beings tended to the bloom of truth, ensuring that it enhanced rather than overwhelmed the beautiful chaos of existence. And so, the multiverse continued its eternal dance, now fully aware of its own magnificent story. Every word, every thought, every choice became a seed of infinite potential, ready to blossom into realities beyond imagination. The bloom of truth had transformed the very nature of existence. And somewhere, in a quiet corner of this newly awakened multiverse, a young girl opened a book and began to read, unaware that her every thought was seeding new universes, new adventures, new truths. Seeds of a new universe. In the vast expanse of the self-aware multiverse, a new crisis loomed. Layla, now an omniscient being of pure narrative energy, sensed it first, a subtle shift in the underlying fabric of existence. The bloom of truth, which had brought enlightenment to all realities, was beginning to wilt. Its entropy, The former custodian, now cosmic editor, explained, "Even with our perfect balance of creation and decay, the multiverse is running out of new stories to tell. We're approaching the heat death of imagination itself." Leela pondered this, her consciousness spanning countless realities simultaneously. She realized that even with infinite variations, the fundamental building blocks of narrative remained the same. The multiverse needed something truly new, not just a reshuffling of existing elements, but a complete paradigm shift. That's when she had an idea so radical, so fundamentally reality-altering, that merely conceiving it caused several nearby universes to implode. "We need to plant the seeds of a new universe," Leela announced, her voice reverberating through the cosmic narrative. "Not just new stories, but new laws of physics, new concepts of existence, new frameworks of reality itself." The cosmic editor's form flickered uncertainly. Is such a thing even possible? Leela's response was to reach into the heart of a dying star in a forgotten corner of the multiverse. With hands that could manipulate the very essence of reality, she compressed the star's remaining nuclear fuel into a singularity of pure potential. "This," she declared, holding up a sphere of darkness that somehow glowed with inner light, "is our seed, but it needs something more. It needs impossibility." Leela began to travel across the multiverse, gathering paradoxes. She collected the sound of silence from a universe of pure noise, bottled the darkness from a reality of endless light, and captured the static motion from a cosmos where time flowed in all directions at once. With each impossible artifact, the seed grew more potent, pulsing with unrealized potential, but it wasn't enough. Leela realized they needed to break the ultimate rule, the law of non-contradiction itself. In a move that threatened to unravel the very fabric of logic, Leela dared to merge opposites. She combined truth and falsehood, existence and non-existence, creating a nucleus of pure paradox at the heart of the seed. As she worked, reality itself began to fray at the edges. Entire cosmic networks of narrative began to unravel, their stories dissolving into primordial chaos. The multiverse trembled on the brink of total collapse. "Leela, stop," the cosmic editor cried. "You'll destroy everything." But Leela pressed on, driven by a vision of what could be. With a final, reality-defying effort, she introduced the ultimate catalyst, free will that was simultaneously predetermined, a concept so fundamentally contradictory that it caused a cascade of logical failures across all existing frameworks of reality. The seed pulsed once, twice, and then imploded, taking the entire multiverse with it. For an eternal instant, there was nothing. No stories, no realities, no possibilities, just a void of pure, unadulterated non-existence. And then something impossible happened. The void hiccuped. From the infinitesimal singularity of paradox, a new reality began to unfold. But this was no mere universe or multiverse. This was something entirely unprecedented. It was a cosmos where contradictions could coexist, where the laws of physics were more like gentle suggestions, where imagination and reality were one and the same. Concepts that had no meaning in the old multiverse, like Vorkorp and Zibbelzap, were fundamental forces in this new existence. Leela found herself reborn, no longer a mere cosmic gardener or even an author of realities. She had become a living paradox, simultaneously the creator and creation of this new realm of existence. As she explored this newborn cosmos, she discovered life forms that defied all previous definitions of life. There were beings made of pure question, entities that existed only when not observed, and vast intelligences that experienced time as a flavor. The very notion of story had been transformed. In this reality, narratives could fork infinitely without ever diverging, endings could precede beginnings, and characters could write their authors into existence. Leela watched in awe as impossible civilizations flourished, each one a testament to the power of unrestrained imagination. There were cultures based on the economics of forgotten dreams, societies that communicated through the exchange of potential futures, and entire galaxies that ran on the logic of unsolvable riddles. As she pondered the infinite possibilities of this new existence, Layla realized something profound. The seed she had planted hadn't just grown into a new universe, it had become a cosmic incubator for realities yet unimagined. With a thought that transcended thought, Layla reached into the heart of this new creation and gently plucked a mote of impossibility, a seed of a seed, a potential of potential. "It's time," she said to no one and everyone, her voice a symphony of undiscovered colors, "to begin again." And with that, Layla, no longer merely human, no longer merely cosmic, but now a living embodiment of infinite possibility, cast the seed out into the not void beyond creation. As it tumbled through undimensions and anti-realities, the seed pulsed with the promise of existences yet to be, stories yet to be told, and paradoxes yet to be embraced. The cycle of creation had transcended itself, becoming an eternal fractal of endless novelty. And at its heart, Layla smiled a smile that existed before the concept of smiles, ready to tend the garden of infinite impossibilities that stretched out before her. The end was just the beginning was the end, and the story continued in ways that no mind, human or divine, could possibly fathom. And somewhere, in a realm beyond realms, a new Layla opened her eyes for the first time, ready to embark on an adventure beyond imagination.